Well, I'm here to talk to you about our implementation of moving from a physical environment over to our cloud environment. Just a little bit of background on Stellar. Stellar is a group of 6 cooperative ISPs in Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. We currently span, as far as geologically speaking, from Alexandria, Minnesota, up to Fargo, down through to Watertown, South Dakota, over through Appleton, Morris, back up through Alexandria. Currently, roughly about 10,000 square miles, about 25,000 customer base. Dealing with technologies from fiber to the home, wireless to, there's still a little bit of dial-up out there, if you can believe that. And basically the core function of Stellar was brought back in 2005 with 3 of the members, Gardenville Federated Farmers Telephone. And the goal back then was to reduce cost. Upstream bandwidth was high, administrative IT overhead was high, and we're all offering the same type of services, whether it's just a specific broadband connection, but we still need DNS servers, web servers, email servers, and so on. So the goal behind Stellar was to collaborate that, bring that in the same data center, share IT costs, share physical assets, and to just basically allow us to grow and provide more service to our member companies. Network layout, today we sit with a 10 gig ring between all the member companies. So between those giraffe cities I laid out before, we have a 10 gig ring between those locations. 2 internet providers right now at 10 gig as well. And we have 2 data centers that are active. One's in Brandon, Minnesota, and one's in Abercrombie, North Dakota. The network itself is again 10 gig MPLS, so it allows us a lot of flexibility as far as doing a lot of fun things between our data centers. Again, our data centers are both hot, so we're both serving data actively on both sides. And the other side, the remote side, is providing the DR side. So if we lose one side, we can spin up everything on the remote side. This active config was even before we went into a virtual environment. Some of the challenges we had many physical systems on each side that we had to manage, and if we lost one site, do a lights out for a catastrophic event for whatever that might be, restoration time would be rather high. We had the data, but we weren't up within minutes. We were up within hours, or hopefully the next day. Again, some of the kind of physical challenges we had in our old environment, we were 1-to-1 for an application to hardware. So our mail servers, we had one mail server, or our mail server just did, the one server that was providing mail, that's all it was primary function. We had a DNS server, that's all it did. Web server, same thing like that. We had many of those different servers. So our power consumption, cooling was growing as we're adding new members, which we needed to manage. Our hardware, one of our older DNS servers was running on hardware from 2002. Which was recently retired this summer, but you can see we had some issues with that. We intentionally kept some of them old servers online just so we had the count so that we could justify the move towards a virtual investment. Again, backups and restoring. We were doing no tape. Everything was just done to disk on a backup server that was offsite. So we didn't have to mess with tape in that respect, but restoration was a lengthy process. And if we did a lights out on one side, it'd be very much a manual process, and the services would be slowly to come back online. Testing and upgrades was a lot of praying before we did them. If we did an Exchange upgrade, we prayed to the Microsoft God that everything was going to be good. Luckily, we were successful in most of those implementations, but we did get a service pack that hit us hard. And Exchange was down on a weekend for quite a few hours, but we were able to get back online, but we weren't able to test. And rapid growth, in 2005, subscriber count was probably about 3,000. Today we're at 25,000 customers. So we needed the back-end infrastructure to be able to grow, so hopefully we can get 50,000 subscribers. Time to change. It was interesting, the opening speaker talked about change. That was probably one of our things we had to push through and provide. Why do we could easily replace our old 2,000 2002 server with another physical box. But that really wasn't the path that we wanted to move on to. We wanted to find ways to reduce power, reduce cooling, reduce our time to restore. Backups were taking long time, and in our rapid growth, we plan on adding more members to our group, and our current infrastructure just didn't allow that. But we've seen it as an opportunity to say, hey, this is the perfect time. Again, that's why we kept some of the old servers online, just so we could justify a little bit easier. And then the virtual project probably started 18 months ago, 2 years ago. This last year we spun up some ESX servers just on a physical host that we had laying around, just running physical disks. So we had some time to play around with VMware and kind of got comfortable with that. This last year, last year about this time we were planning budget for this year, and got it approved here in May, and pulled the trigger in July. One of our main challenges, if you're familiar with the OSI layer, was the political battle. If you look at Stellar, we have 6 different companies. It's like having 6 different departments, and each department's got their own focus points on what they feel is important. And I respect, all the different opinions. But we got through it. We have a technical committee that sits in between all the different member companies that we meet every 2 weeks on a conference call. And this was a hot topic here for probably 6 months to kind of get an idea that, this is the right thing that we need to do. Up front, day one, it's going to be more expensive than replacing individual servers one by one. But long term, we see the benefits, especially if we had an outage situation. So, new environment. We're on HP hosts. Cisco networking was already in place in the data center and on the core ring. We chose NetApp for storage, and professional services went through Northland Systems. Migration path. We spun up in mid-July. Our plan was to do a lot of P2V conversions. We had success in the past when we were just doing some testing for all of our systems. We did run into a little bit of an issue with we primarily run a lot of Debian Linux machines. We have some Windows machines out there as well, but primarily Debian Linux. And the P2V converter from VMware did not support Debian, so we had to work around that issue. But we found that reinstalling Grub and going through for a few more things like that, we were able to get those machines back online. We had 35 machines in both data centers to convert, and our conversion time was 16 days to bring everything from a physical to a virtual environment. I know we got a lot of flack saying that was being a little bit aggressive to get that done so fast, but we were having some hardware failures on the older systems, so we definitely had some incentive to get it done as fast as we could. Some of the new services that we're offering now. Yes, the Stellar model today, all of Stellar's assets are virtual. We're 100% there. We are offering the private cloud model for us is our member companies hosting some of their internal servers, like their billing servers, maybe an internal secondary domain controller, whatnot, up in our infrastructure. So that way, if their local data center goes offline, guess what? Stellar's got you backed up in our private cloud, which in our case, we own and manage the network and the systems behind the virtual infrastructure as well. The DR site, before it would take us hours to days to recover. We're now running replication between each site once an hour. So at one point, we have an hour's worth of data loss. So if we go lights out on DC1, we can spin those servers back up on the secondary data center and have an hour's old worth of data loss potentially. Probably the big thing for the techs was having a sandbox to play in. We're currently doing rapid clones on Exchange every time we do an upgrade, or on SQL. So we can do a clone on our domain controllers and Exchange, put that in its own little sandbox and play. Make sure the upgrade works successfully. If it doesn't, find out that procedure from A to Z as far as this is what we need to do to move our production server to that next upgrade. That's actually been a really nice enhancement for us lately as of different service packs have come out. Or if we want to just try to make us application level change. The mobility side, we're all looking into, on the wireless side of our house, we're doing LTE on some mobile. We also wanted the ability to move our data centers around or systems around. If we'd seen a different higher load on DC1, we wanted to move that system over to DC2 in a live migration. We don't have SRM today. Right now we're in a, if we did a lights out, we do have a manual process to bring DC1 online at DC2. But the procedure is very easy. It's probably 5-6 steps, and we're booting machines off of the remote side. So we're working very well in that respect. Our plan a year ago was we needed to have a 5 to 7 year plan. A lot of the telco industry, we're accounting basis on 7-year cycle. So we don't have a 3-year cycle where we can replace equipment more often. So that's why you see some of our older systems in the past. So we needed to provide a long-term solution that we're going to reduce power, reduce cooling, and bring in some new systems so we can, if we get a new member, we can spin it up in a lab environment, make sure that if they have 5,000 mail accounts, we can bring that in our environment, test the upgrade, life is good. Okay, now we can plan on whatever night we have to run that upgrade. DR for members is, like I said, our private cloud is built for our members to share the infrastructure. We have private connections in from their local data center into our cloud, which works out really nice. As far as latency and speed, that was a concern for the local techs. They had a local gig or 10 gig network, and their secondary mail server is sitting up 100 miles away. That was a big concern day one, but that was pretty much put to bed right away after we did it, and they wouldn't even know that it's 100 miles away serving their SharePoint site. Energy consumption was reduced by 40%. I know Steve talked about dedupe. We're seeing about a 35% on most of our volumes. We've seen it as down to about 20 and as high as 40. So what Steve mentioned right on for 30% savings, that's right in line with we are as well. Future growth, today we sit with 6 members, 25,000 accounts. We recently added last couple of years a member each year. So we're definitely on the growth plan. And I guess don't see that stopping at this point. So I guess with that's kind of our solution. It's a little bit unique in a way for the service provider. But I guess that's kind of how we're leveraging the private cloud and VMware and NetApp. And again, Northland Systems put that in for us. So.